Education is not preparation for life. Education is life itself. The words by John Dewey. John Dewey was an American psychologist, philosopher, educator, social critic, and political activist. He was born in Burlington, Vermont on 20 October 1859. Dewey graduated from the University of Vermont in 1879 and received his PhD from Johns Hopkins University in 1884. He started his career at the University of Michigan, teaching there from 1884 to 1888 and 1889 to 1894 with a one-year term at the University of Minnesota in 1888. In 1894, he became the chairman of the Department of Philosophy, Psychology, and Pedagogy at the University of Chicago. In 1899, John Dewey was elected president of the American Philosophical Association, and in 1905, he became president of the American Philosophical Association. Dewey taught at Columbia University from 1905 until he retired in 1929 and occasionally taught as professor emeritus until 1939. During this year at Columbia, he traveled at the world as a philosopher, social and political theorist, and educational consultant. Among his major journeys are his lectures in Japan and China from 1990 to 1921, his visit to Turkey in 1924 to recommend educational policy and a tour of school in the USSR in 1928. Of course, among the many concerns that attracted Dewey's support were women's suffrage, progressive education, educational rights, the humanistic movement, and world peace. Dewey died in New York City on 1st June 1952. John Dewey was the most famous and most influential American philosopher of education. He is associated with the pragmatism movement, elevated the importance of experience as the path to valid knowledge. The excerpt Thinking in Education is from his book Democracy and Education in 1960. Dewey stresses the function of formal education to foster the critical thinking based on personal exploration. He stresses the paramount importance of discovery and problem solving that lead to real insight and cross connection between the subject matter of the lesson and the wider and most direct experiences of everyday life. Experience and Education is a short book written by John Dewey in 1938. It provides a concise and powerful analysis of education. John Dewey is saying that education had divided just like traditional and progressive. The traditional education relies for its aims, methods of instruction, and discipline on things handed down from past and the people directly as an end product with no active participants of them. Whereas the progressive education gives the chance for learning through experience. It offers the expression and development of individually and necessarily relationship between actual experiences and education. Dewey argued all experiences are not educative, some are miseducative. The importance of experience based learning is to create fruitful experiences and organize them in progression to guide students' learning. In traditional schools, people associated boredom with the learning process. So, Dewey find troubling because of the deductive nature of the experience. So, every educator's duty is to determine the quality of an experience. Each experience has two aspects, the immediate agreeableness and disagreeableness, and its later impact on further experience. If we believe in democracy, we will adapt the progressive education easily as it is more in accord with the democratic ideal and its method are more humans, giving a better quality of human experiences which is widely accessible and enjoyed. Do you believe that he should support progressive education that applies the principles of continuity as a criterion and teach students in a manner consistent with their becoming positively interactive, democratic, and dynamic learners? In traditional classroom, the nature of social setting focus the keeping order. In progressive education, the classroom will be social convenient and they felt that he is a part of community and not forced on students by teacher. Everyone experiencing the social control in life which does not violate the personal freedom. The individual being part of the group and acting behalf of the personal and group interest. Dewey says that educators should be the member of the group. He is acting as a coach, but not the autocratic way by being just and fair. John Dewey gave importance to nature of freedom of intelligence, the act of freely thinking, observing and judging. The traditional schools that enforce quiet and stillness, but in the progressive learning allows teacher to assess her students in a deeper level. Freedom of movement is also an integral component of physical and mental health. Freedom helps students learn how to control their desires. The real aim of education or the ideal aim of education is to create intelligent self control. It gives them both the power to frame purposes, judge wisely, and evaluate desire by the consequences which will result from acting upon them, and the power to select and order means to carry chosen ends into operation. The meaning of purposes emphasizes that freedom given by progressive education allows the students to identify desires and create plan. Dewey stated that freedom is the power to frame purpose and to execute or carry into effect. As Dewey said, a purpose is an end view and a plan is a corporate enterprise, not a dictation, so that teachers should be aware of their capabilities, needs, and past experiences of students and should offer guidance, suggestions, and allow their participation in developing a plan. Dewey says that the material that we learned in traditional school was based on the past. The progressive school ignore the past. The sound principles is to make acquaintance of and with past as a means of understanding the present. Dewey took for granted that education must be based upon experience with intelligent development and direction in order to accomplish its ends, both for the individual learner and society. One of Dewey's prominent concerns was the educator's role in creating an environment of education that provides continually within the experience based assimilative model of students' learning.